Hey everybody, this is Izzy here coming to you with another review. This review is going to coincide with the news that Zack Snyder is being allowed to finish his, or to complete rather, his cut of the Justice League that's going to be released on HBO Max. Today's review is based off of Batman vs. Superman, the polarized film that created such a division amongst critics and fans, and even amongst fans in general. This film stars Ben Affleck, Henry Cavill, Gal Gadot, Lawrence Fishburne, Amy Adams, and Jesse Eisenberg. And overall, this film is more or less the continuation. It's a sequel while also building up the DCEU's universe that was going to be established as a means to answer to Marvel Cinematic Universe. The problem is when Ben Affleck was casted, you had a lot of fans that were really truly against him being casted as Bruce Wayne Batman. They didn't necessarily have so much of an issue with Henry Cavill as Superman because, I mean, when you think about it, Henry Cavill is about as picture perfect as we're ever going to get as far as Superman is concerned. Ben Affleck, I mean, there was a lot of fans who were signing petitions to have him removed from the role. People weren't necessarily sure how he was going to perform the role. People weren't exactly sure what was going to happen given the amount of material that was going to be presented in the film, and there was a lot of anticipation but a reservation at the same time. Basically, the film of Batman vs Superman is Bruce Wayne witnessing the total annihilation of Metropolis, if you will, during the events of Man of Steel, with Superman fighting Zod in Metropolis and causing all kinds of destruction. Given that Bruce Wayne has experienced tragedy in his life and watching all the carnage that was unfolding before his eyes, he uses his skills uses his deductive reasoning skills and intelligence to be able to create a kryptonite weapon that was going to eliminate the threat of Superman, and not just Superman, but other world beings that could have attempted to establish themselves in Metropolis or even Gotham. With Batman vs Superman, not only did you have that storyline, but then you had Easter eggs of injustice being cemented in there. Then you had Darkseid. Then you had Doomsday. Then you have Lex Luthor. Then you have Wonder Woman. Then you also have building up the Justice League for their own film. So there was a lot of information that was being processed, and it wasn't enough film, if you will, to cover all those bases into one film, and then they were just cramming so much in because they wanted to rush into their universe rather than gradually and slowly build up to it and have characters earn their moments and have the storylines earn their moments and have the audience be able to emotionally and spiritually connect with those specific characters. But overall, I mean, despite those flaws, despite the fact that there was a lot of reservations with this film and how it was initially delayed because they wanted to be able to perfect it as much as possible. And while I admit I don't own the Ultimate Edition Director's Cut, I have watched that version, and it is great. It does fill in the necessary gaps in order for the story to make sense. And this review, while it is a theatrical edition, it is still coincided with the director's cut. A lot of fans and even critics had issues with the tone of the film and with the characterization of Superman and Batman. They didn't feel comfortable with the fact that Superman was broody, depressed, and just wasn't necessarily portrayed as a beacon of hope that we have all been accustomed to, not just from the Christopher Reeve era, from the animated series, from the Lois and Clark films, Lois and Clark shows, I mean, and even the comic books and the video games, and et cetera, et cetera. The interesting thing is, Superman questioning his place in the world isn't exactly a new concept. This is something that has been explored in graphic novels, novelizations, and comic books, and animated series, you name it. Superman, while he is a beacon of hope, there are instances where he does question his place in the world. So for Zack Snyder to explore that particular concept isn't as blasphemous as people made it out to be. A lot of people also didn't appreciate the fact that Bruce Wayne Batman was that much more ruthless in this film, and that's another thing. Because Batman hadn't received his own solo film, at least in this particular depiction, we don't necessarily understand why he's being as ruthless as he is. I mean, there are Easter eggs, there are hints, obviously, but there's nothing being shown as exactly why he is becoming as brutal as he is with his methods in dealing with criminals. But despite all those interesting elements being crammed into one film. There is a great film in there. I mean, it's not the greatest film in the world. It's not the best film in the world. It's not perfect, but there is a great film with the storyline coming to the surface that allows you to, I feel, be able to separate the flaws and to enjoy it for what it is. Now, there were fans who believed that Marvel slash Disney was paying off critics to give Batman vs Superman negative reviews because they have this. There's this theory that they believe that there were. How can I explain this? There were theories that they felt that Marvel slash Disney was threatened by the emergence of another cinematic universe that wasn't Marvel. I'm not going to say that Marvel was paying off critics, but I do believe that there were critics who already had a pro-Marvel agenda that didn't want to see a DCEU become to fruition. In my opinion, I believe DC has the better storylines, has the better characters, and the better villains, and it's just their cinematic styles were so drastically different that I was becoming more interested in what the DCEU was going to create instead of Marvel. Now, I love the Marvel Cinematic Universe. I thought they did a great job. I mean, and how it ended with Endgame and, of course, Spider-Man Homecoming, I thought those were brilliant. They were fun. They were entertaining. They were spectacular. They were colorful. They were just so majestically different at the same time. But DCEU, Zack Snyder's vision, was just had much more of a cinematic gods amongst us feel that really just gave you more beautiful imagery, but at the same time really having it be set into a more darker environment, if you will, if that makes any sense. Zack Snyder, for all intents and purposes, he's a cinematic genius. For his weaknesses as a storyteller, he is a genius when it comes to capturing and creating visuals. And I do believe that Zack Snyder should more or less be focused on the cinematic area rather than attempted to create a storyline. Now, I believe that he did a great job with this film, despite everything that is crammed into this film. There is something genius there. There is a great film that I believe was completely overlooked because it wasn't Marvel, because there wasn't a lot of quippy one-liners and colorful images. There is a story there that I feel challenged people to think about different elements of the comic book franchises. And Batman vs Superman is that film, with the action sequences, with the spectacular visuals, with the beautiful cinematography, where you have Superman fighting Doomsday in space, and you have the original Trinity getting ready to battle Doomsday. You have Wonder Woman showing up. That you have the iconic first confrontation between Batman versus Superman. There was just a lot of great moments in this film that I believe just became overlooked because it wasn't what people were initially expecting. But in the end, I thought the performances were great. I thought the action was spectacular. One of my favorite moments of the film is when the introduction. It's a spoiler here, folks. So I'm going to give you guys a few seconds, / minutes to step away before I go into detail about it. Okay, one of my favorite moments of the film is when Batman is first introduced into the specific scene, and how Zack Snyder built it up as this unique type of atmospheric horror film where Batman is portrayed as a monster. And it was just, you had even the innocent victims that were being saved by him were afraid of him. And that's what made that scene so special. It was scary. It was frightening. I literally felt the hairs on my arms standing up and how intense it was. And Batman just being a creature of the night is what has been missing in previous Batman depictions, in my opinion. And of course, the warehouse fight scene is about the closest thing that we get to a Batman Arkham Asylum fight on the big screen. Ben Affleck, I think, does an amazing job as Batman Bruce Wayne. He's about as close as we're ever going to get to a picture-perfect Batman. I mean, granted, there's Michael Keaton, there's Val Kilmer, then you have Cameron Conroy, who does the voice of Batman. But Ben Affleck just looks like Bruce Wayne and sounded exactly like him. And that's what I enjoyed about it. Jesse Eisenberg as Lex Luthor wasn't my ideal casting, and his performance, it wasn't anything that I particularly cared for, because to me that wasn't Lex Luthor. My own theory was that I would like to believe that the real Lex Luthor was out there, and that he just happened to abandon his son, which is the Jesse Eisenberg version of Lex Luthor, and that eventually he is going to make his reappearance, if you will. I believe, still believe to this very day, that Bryan Cranston should have been cast as Lex Luthor by far. Walter White, Heisenberg, what have you. Bryan Cranston is still my ideal Lex Luthor. But overall, I thought the film was great. I thought it was fun. I thought it was entertaining. It really challenged you to think about things outside the comic book spectrum, and it wasn't your typical comic book film. Despite the fact that, once again, it's all about building up the extended universe, introducing character developing of Batman, Superman, introducing Wonder Woman, and of course the Justice League, Doomsday, Darkseid, the Parademons, the death of Superman, even the Injustice sequence that is hinted upon, and then with Flash making an appearance. I mean, there's just a lot going on that couldn't be fully realized within the one film spectrum. However, despite all of that, it is a great film, and I did enjoy it for what it is. And I believe I just went in not knowing that it's important to keep your expectations low to a certain extent. While there's nothing wrong with having high anticipation, you have to be able to be realistic at the same time. And Zack Snyder created a great film. I do recommend it. I recommend both versions, the theatrical cut and even the director's cut. Having said that, I give Batman vs. Superman a 5 out of 5, 2 thumbs up. That is my review of Batman vs. Superman. Let me know what you thought about the film. If you watch it, I do recommend it. Provide a like, provide a comment on my Facebook and my YouTube. I'm not exactly sure what review is going to be next, but I will be sure to let you guys know. And, well, actually, you will see it on my Facebook and my YouTube. That is my review of Batman vs. Superman. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope you guys continue to remain safe, healthy, and you'll be hearing from me again. My friends, take care, and peace out.